All right, welcome. Bit of an experiment today. I'm actually filming this on two different devices at once so I can get it up on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, the same time that I can get it up on the Instagrams. So I don't then have to go through the technological hassle of taking it from one to the other. Anyway, that's what's going on. Welcome to the SitRep for the 23rd February 2022. It is currently 4:42 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Today, I'm actually probably going to leave Ukraine alone a little bit today and not talk too much about it. There hasn't been massive developments. There has been massive developments, but nothing that is unexpected and nothing that I haven't talked about in the previous couple of videos. In that what I was saying was going to lead into is what it's leading into, in that we're seeing increased fighting in those regions on the east. All right, start off with some interesting tinfoil hat type stuff that I saw. There was two separate reports of US military helicopter crashes, one in Hawaii and one in Utah, or two that came down in Utah on the slopes, both happening, within a very short time period, which I thought was interesting. Like, why are these US military helicopters coming out of the sky all of a sudden? Yeah, that was odd. And also, the Queen is dead. Yeah, no, I'm not going to spread misinformation, but there is at least one news source that is saying the Queen is dead. And when they were asked to retract that, they actually refused and said, "No, we trust our sources, and we think she's dead." Yeah. And then Channel 9 in Australia actually got a slap on the wrist for saying that the Queen, or putting up on 60 Minutes, I think, that the Queen was taking ivermectin. So horse dewormers, huh? Her and Joe Rogan just hanging out, doing weird shit. Who knows? Probably taking mushrooms and ivermectin and saving themselves from the coot. Anyway, that's just some fun stuff. Queen being dead is probably not that fun, but just some funny things that I saw that caught my interest to start off with today. All right, so what I want to talk about today is 1984-like measures that governments are putting into place around the world, because there's been a lot of them in the last 24 hours, or a lot upcoming. So probably everyone's focused at the moment on Canada. A lot of big things happening in Canada at the moment around the Freedom Convoy and Trudeau going, I don't know, like full authoritarian. The funniest part about that is that he actually, in a press conference today, kind of bagged out Russia and then said, we are vehemently against any sort of authoritarian rule. I think, that's a bit like the pot calling the kettle black in a way. Hey, Commie Hunter. If you want to talk to me, by the way, there's a chat function on here, so feel free to chuck it in there. Any comments or any questions while we're going? But yeah, Trudeau got his emergency powers signed off, so that's all happening. Bank accounts are being frozen over in Canada. The organizer of the Freedom Convoy just got her bail denied, and the judge who is sitting on that case has put out a bit of a warning, saying that if you get found guilty, you can expect a lengthy jail time. The reason for the bail being denied, I thought, was kind of interesting to see. That it was that you continued in illegal activities when you were told not to. So obviously that definition there, what's the difference between legal protests against people forming and having their say on whatever matter it is, and what the government deems as illegal. And, from my perspective, and this is my opinion on this, what we're seeing here is a shifting of the language. So people are actually taking words and shifting their meaning. And we've seen this in a number of times over the past 2 years. And I think that's disturbing. I'm actually very interested in where words come from and what their original meaning is. There's etymology, and I think it is something that most people should do, because we speak this language and we should find out what the words we're using actually mean and where they come from, what their original meaning was. I think that's important. And I think that if we allow our language to slip and for people to start making it a little bit slippery and shifting where it's going and saying, no, this actually means this. Oh, no. Vaccine doesn't mean that you aren't able to catch it. It just means that it helps lessen the blow if you do catch it. That sort of stuff. I don't think we should allow that sort of thing to happen. So, watch that space. Watch what happens with her, the organizer of the Freedom Convoy over in Canada, because Canada is a very, very similar, in my opinion at least, Canada's a very similar country to Australia. Our politics are very similar. The people are very similar. I think it's almost like we're a cold version and a hot version of pretty similar places, that we had a similar genesis. We sit politically in a similar sort of area. So it's interesting as Australians, I think, to sit there and watch what's happening there at the moment. And we've had our own problems in this country. So watch that space and maybe start to think about what we can do as Australians to start preparing for this sort of stuff, i.e. bank accounts being frozen. If your money is electronic, it is no longer safe. Speaking about Australia, here's an interesting one that's about to happen in Canberra. It's the public health bill that's about to come out. It's got, when are we looking at? The 28th of February. We've got till this gets either put in or not put in. And I would suggest that you look this one up, the public health bill, because this pertains, this is about vaccinations. I don't know if I can say that word, but this is about that issue, but it's about that issue now. And this sort of thing can spread out to a whole heap of other things. But it's basically saying that people need to have that thing in order to, and this is the wording that's actually written in it, in order to work, attend activities. I don't know what that means, but that's the wording. Activities, that can mean anything as far as I'm concerned. Attend a place. Just a place. Attend a place. What? That's for something that is that restrictive. I think the language in that is way too broad and can be misinterpreted. Even if they've got the best intentions with it, further down the line, if that sort of thing gets voted in, further down the line, I can see that being abused pretty easily. So look that one up and be afraid. In the US, the Arizona police, I think this actually got signed off. They're not to be filmed within 8 feet. You can't film a police officer within 8 feet of what they're doing. That sounds like a pretty fair, free, and open society idea to me. Don't film what the authorities are doing. That's pretty crazy. I think it's one of the only recourses that we actually have within our society now, is that there are so many people who have access to cameras readily, and that can be a bad thing and a good thing. But if we take that away, then we're losing one of the advantages that we have with the technology. I think the technology that we have, even though I'm talking to you over it, I'm not particularly enamored of it. I don't think it's the greatest thing that we've ever done as human people, as a species, in that it is great, but we use it for not so great purposes a lot of the time. And it's misused a lot of the time. So the fact that that's potentially getting taken away, or the ability to highlight that, this person's doing this or this person's doing that, is a bit concerning to me. And it may be concerning to you as well, but it may not. And Hong Kong have just come out and said they're going to do mandatory testing of their entire population. That's 7.5 million people that they're going to test in a week. Doesn't matter if you want it or not. Doesn't matter if you're sick or not. You're getting tested. Again, this sort of stuff concerns me. If you haven't read 1984, the book, a lot of people reference it, and I wonder actually how many people have read it. It is a very fascinating book. Orwell was ahead of his time in writing it. Another couple of book recommendations I'm going to give out. I just finished Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein. I recommend reading that as well. I think that's very interesting. It actually, that was written, I want to say in the 50s, and he references, it's a sci-fi, so it's set in the future, and he references a time in the past where the human race was struggling because they allowed certain things to happen. And he, I don't know how, but he was exactly describing what we're going through now. And the book I'm reading at the moment is Atlas Shrugged. Surprise, surprise, if anyone knows my political leanings, it shouldn't be any big shock that I'd be reading that once more. But again, I think that these books are worth reading and use it as a tool to kind of weigh up against what's happening now and future things that could happen. But yeah, certainly 1984, authoritarian governments that have pretty much lost control of what is fair and right anymore. Democracy may only be a word that we use. But, these are the sort of things that we're seeing play out now. And these are the sort of things we need to start thinking about, that we possibly don't want to go any further down this rabbit hole. But yeah, for prepping sort of purposes, do we want to keep our money in banks if it can be frozen? Do you want to stay in a city where you can be more easily controlled and manipulated? This is the sort of stuff that really concerns me as a prepper. Is actually, and I did write a little bit of a post about this, is becoming ungovernable, and that to me is not being a rebel. It's not like going out and protesting or anything like that. Becoming ungovernable means you're not controlled by outside sources as much as you possibly can be. So where I can, I try and secure my own food supply, my own water, the things that are going to keep me alive. I try and become as self-reliant as possible, and then create other people around me and have a community or a mutual assistance group around me that does that as well, that helps out with that, because no man is an island. We must do these things in a group. We are community creatures, animals, social animals. So that's essentially what I'm saying is, if you're not doing this already, then really start to think about this. And I know if you're probably following me, then I'm preaching to the choir a little bit. But start to spread the word and start to get this out there and start to turn other people onto this, that maybe if push comes to shove and food becomes scarce, they can start turning off that food tap or water tap or money tap or whatever it is that you require to survive. And then you have to do what you're told. And then you are extremely governable. So yeah, that's enough rant on that, not on my tinfoil hat 1984 conspiracy sort of stuff. I'm going to take the tinfoil hat off now. I want to talk a little bit about outages and possible cyber attacks that are occurring. There's been a lot of them over the past 24 hours. And if you're sort of tracking this sort of stuff, there's been a lot of them in the past maybe month or so. But this was something that I've been talking about earlier, that as we're seeing these players start to move around on the world and they are known to do these things, then they are going to start to do it. And cyber attacks are not linked geographically. So we can look at things that are happening in Ukraine and potentially Middle East and other areas of the world and go, well, this isn't quite in my backyard yet, so I don't have to worry about it. And that's true. But when the cyber attacks start rolling out, this is going to have a much wider effect on us. So we do need to start to protect ourselves from these sorts of things. So just to give you a bit of a taste of website outages that have happened in the past 24 hours, just a couple of small businesses, Amazon Web Services. Ever heard of them? Apparently they're a big deal. Walmart, a little search engine called Google, Facebook, Slack, all of these have reported quite serious outages in the past 24 hours. Not that they've totally dropped off, but through certain websites that log these kind of outages, or when websites go down, we've seen quite a few spikes and large spikes in these. Then there's been a couple others, and they might be linked to sanctions that have come out. So I will go into the Ukraine situation a little bit. In that, probably one of the bigger things that's come out in the past 24 hours is the sanctions. So sanctions have been thrown out left, right, and center. And according to one of the sources, as soon as Uncle Joe Biden chucked out the sanctions on Russia, the FEB bank, which is a bank in Russia, instantly went down. It came back, but yeah, everyone's getting in on the sanctions. Japan was the last one that I just saw, just got on the sanctions on Russia as well. But EU's in there. UK, I couldn't find exactly what sanctions they had done, if they had done any, but they were they were saying they are coming. That's what I did see from Boris Bojo. He chucked out that they are coming. Winter is coming for Russia. Biden's definitely thrown out the ones that the US are doing, which is exactly what I said would happen. That after Russia, from the west side, Russia has invaded Ukraine. From Russia's side, they've just gone into the occupied areas that are now their own sovereign states. The LDP and the the LRP and the DRP. But as soon as they did that, what we'd see is sanctioned. What we would see was sanctions come flying in left, right, and center. And so that's what we've seen happen. No NATO coming in guns blazing, just the world coming in sanction blazing. So that's we'll see what the effect of that is. But at this point, Russia is saying, don't care about your sanctions. They said that yesterday, they said that the day before, and they said that at least a week ago when the word sanctions started getting thrown out there. If you go into Ukraine, you will get sanctioned. They've been saying the whole time, we do not give a shit about your sanctions. Maybe they should. If you've checked out the Russian stock market, it's kind of gone off a cliff. But to be fair, the Russian stock market index, the MOEX, was on that decline anyway for at least 6 months. So the fact that it went 6 months and then went like this, and then if you look at today, it actually kicked up a little bit. Maybe a dead man's bounce, we don't know, but that's interesting that it kind of came back a little bit. So just got a question come in. What do you recommend for someone who has a large amount of dollars in their bank when it comes to frozen bank accounts and cyber attacks? Well, these two things that you just mentioned are the main concern for me for money in the bank. What my recommendation is, and quite a few of the financial people that I follow or listen to, I've heard them say this as well, is really diversification. And I've said this a number of times. Diversifying what you put your money into now is a pretty good bet. So if you know me, I like gold and silver. I like it physically in my hands, the stuff that I can hold. But I do also hold some non-physical gold and silver. So precious metal markets, I think, are good. And especially right now, we've just seen them jump, or we've seen gold jump because people get scared in the world. They get scared about the situation that's going on, and bang, they go into precious metals because it's always been that safe haven for instability. It's always seen as a relatively stable commodity. Other solid commodities, though, are a good idea. A lot of people talking about, Bitcoin and Ethereum, all your cryptos at the moment. But Bitcoin did not do well in the last 24 hours. I just checked before I came back onto this live, and it looked like it may have made a bit of a comeback, but there was a bit of a shock that was happening there with Bitcoin. So, if you're a real expert on crypto, like I say, go for it. But it's the sort of thing where I've tried it out. I had to put a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of research every single day into it, and had to keep moving, keep like a moving target, moving my stuff around. And I just kind of got tired of it after a while. But we can see some good things come out of that too, as in there are certain cryptos, or at least certain wallets, especially the Canada situation, where they're saying like, hey, the authorities are going like, can you tell us about these people and freeze their accounts and do all this? And they're like, no, we can't do that. That's, it's like not what we do. It's not ethical, and it's kind of against the whole theory of crypto as a whole. But B, we can't actually physically do that. We don't collect that kind of information off people. So, there is that advantage to it. But me, I'm all about the physical stuff. So I suggest holding precious metals, maybe diversifying into land holdings, property, that sort of stuff too. I always think it's a good idea. And if I generally go towards longer term things, and things are, unsexier. None of the stuff that I'm into is going to go boom overnight, really. It's more 10, 20, 30 years into the future that it will hold value. And hopefully that's the most important thing that you should be thinking about at the moment. Apart from that too, preps, food stocks. So, I've been building up food stores for quite some time, and even something that I bought. So all the food like in my pantry that I bought 3 months ago, 6 months ago, that's now more expensive to buy. So I've actually saved money. So that's a form of investment there. And maybe who knows what's going to happen in the future. But if things keep going the way they're going, and inflation keeps going the way it's going, then still even buying food today will be an investment towards the future. So food, land, precious metals, that's the kind of stuff that my recommendation is. But again, the big caveat, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a dude who is a little bit crazy and paranoid about the world. So, if you really want to, if you're really worried about what to do with your money, then maybe seek financial advice. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of people who seek financial advice hit financial advisors who have only been alive for 30 to 40, maybe 50 years, and so haven't really seen that big crunch that can come in, that big stock market fall. In that time period, everything's kind of trended up. Well, not kind of, it has trended up over that time period. So they're kind of in that belief of nothing can go wrong. Nothing ever goes wrong, so nothing can go wrong. But yeah, if you can find somebody who is a financial advisor and B, a historian, then you might be in luck. Cool. Well, that's it for today, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there unless any other crazy questions come in. But if not, that's pretty much it for today. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but I don't want to sit here and talk all day. So yeah, as always, keep an eye on what's happening in the world. I'll continue to try and keep doing these videos for you. Thanks for the feedback for everyone who's putting in, telling me that they're enjoying the videos and they want me to keep doing them. As long as there's at least one or two people doing that, I'll keep doing it. It's worth my time to get this information out of my head. But the point of this is that we can try and get more information out there. We can try and help people get more prepared, and more prepared people are safer in an emergency. So I do kind of see things getting maybe a little bit funky in the future as we go on, and the more prepared people out there, I think the safer we'll all be. So keep preparing, guys. Keep safe out there, and Semper Paratus.